Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Right, so Hulkling's deep dive is out. I have watched it, rewatched it, grabbed the screenshots, and I'll be honest, I quite like the way he looks, and he also fulfills a definite existing niche in the game. And I do believe that his numbers are going to look quite well also, and he's definitely quite unique champion, but I do think that it's a valuable addition to the contest, and I'm definitely personally interested in him as a character in MCOC, because I do think he's going to be quite powerful. Right, now that I have kind of oversold him a little bit, let's go through his abilities and break them down. So first of all, he does have immunity to poison and shocks, which is obviously quite nice. Shock immunity is fairly popular recently, but poison immunity always comes in handy in case you want to run Liquid Courage, double edge masteries, and just, dual immunity champions, are all, well, it's better to have immunities than not to. Additionally, his Mystic Sword, provides him an immunity to power, drain, steal, and burn, so Peni will not be doing any damage when she auto-blocks against him, for example. Also, incoming heal block duration is reduced by 2 seconds flat. That includes Peni's passive heal blocks, so those won't be lasting as long. Ultimately, also, when Hulkling prevents an effect by immunity, he gains 1 shapeshift charge. That's not that big of a deal. He's going to be gaining loads of those throughout the fight. Offensive combat power rate is decreased by 20%, but every time he basically converts a shapeshift charge into a buff, he gains some power, so that kind of is offset there. I don't like that they reduced specifically offensive combat power rate, because that means that defensively he's still going to be getting the full power. I always dislike that kind of special treatment for champions as defenders, where Kabam tries to tune them down and make them worse offensively, and then make those same abilities more powerful defensively, like combat power rate in this example, and he has 2 more examples like that with his indestructible and regen buffs and stuff like that. I'll get to it. Additionally, he gains 900 attack rating for each unique buff he has, which is quite interesting, which automatically means that Odin, for instance, is going to give him 2700 additional attack on top of the fact that one of those buffs is aptitude, which is going to increase the potency of his furies that he gets while level 2. So he definitely is going to get juiced up by Odin quite significantly. And here is, initial kind of screenshots to show that those shapeshift charges are on the left. You gain them basically every second that you are not striking opponent with your basic hits. So you gain them when you're parrying or dancing around, baiting around special attacks, when you're using your own special attacks, and you gain 1 per second. And then you can see that he will have regens, aptitudes. He's going to have a special kind of new pierce buff that's going to increase his block penetration. And he's also going to be able to go unstoppable, and he's going to have indestructible. Every time he gets hit, he regenerates 65% of the damage taken. So when you're going to be going up against this guy as a defender, you're going to have a plan for that, or that fight is going to last a very, very long time. All right, so moving on to the next screenshots, here we clearly see that he's immune to power control, and here they kind of tease that Peni matchup. The reason why he's great for Peni matchup is every time he hits opponent's block, he gains that pierce charge that increase your block penetration. So basic idea is you can just dash in at Peni and attack, and if she auto blocks, you can't be powered burned, and you're going to be converting your shapeshift charges into pierce buffs. That's gonna just destroy her block even quicker. And when you get to 5 of those pierce buffs, you actually go fully unblockable, so she can't even auto block further past that point. The entire base principle of him is going to be creating and generating these shapeshift charges. I think you can get up to 8, and then when you start hitting the opponent based on the type of attacks that you are using, you're going to be gaining different buffs. When you're going to be hitting opponent with light and medium attacks, you're going to be getting aptitudes. When you're going to be hitting opponent's block, you're going to be getting pierce charges. When you're going to be blocking or parrying, you're going to be getting bulwark buffs that increase your block proficiency. And that's kind of like the main thing there. With heavy attacks, you will inflict a new type of debuff. Intimidate, I think it's called. We're going to discuss that in a second. So here we can see that basically just by having buffs, he has his attack increased. Here, that was discussed. Cool, shapeshift charges, bulwark, no worries. And yeah, when he gets hit, when you mess up, you will gain regeneration buffs. And it's kind of cool when you're attacking, if you get hit 8 times, or basically when you get 8 regeneration buffs, you go indestructible for X amount of time. It wasn't specified exactly how long that indestructible was. So it's kind of fail-safe there when you mess up, but it's definitely going to be something to deal with when you face Hulkling as a defender as well. And then instead of 8, it's going to be 5. So basically, after every combo that you land, if he has these charges, he's going to go indestructible. It's going to be annoying as long as he has those charges. So we're going to have to deal with that for sure. And here is one bad screenshot that I took. Also, if his indestructible buff or unblockable buff get nullified, they are converted into passives with increased duration. So that's definitely also going to be quite interesting there, and annoying. Because you're obviously going to be trying to use Mystic Nullified champions against him quite a lot. So now we have this Intimidate debuff. It's kind of like a reverse taunt in a way. It's basically what Psycho Man's blue phase does. It makes opponents more passive and makes them block more, which is something you will want with Hulkling, because you will want to strike their block 5 times, go unblockable, and if you are unblockable during your special attacks, then you get extra bonuses basically. Like for instance, if you're unblockable during your level 2, you get additional Fury that is quite potent. If you're unblockable during your level 1, you get your buffs paused for the duration of special attack and 2 seconds afterwards. So you do want to use your specials when you are unblockable. To become unblockable, you need to hit opponent's buff. So ideally, you want to be able to land a heavy attack to make it easier for you to strike their block when you want it. Level 1 does basically nothing too special. It just pauses your buffs, and then it lets you gain your shapeshift charges quicker for X amount of time. You basically gain one every half a second instead of a second. So we'll see how important that is. But the money maker is going to be the level 2, which we're going to see here in a second. Lets you gain 1 Fury buff just for activating it, and additional Fury buff if you're unblockable during that special attack. And those Fury buffs are quite potent, which I'm going to show an example for in a bit, because he obviously is going to keep them for a while after his special ends, and then he's going to be able to drop quite a lot of damage there. His awakened ability seems largely like nice to have, kind of like an increase in damage and sturdiness ability. I don't think it's absolutely 100% vital, but we'll see how big of a difference it makes. Basically, your bulwark buffs last longer, your fury buffs last slightly longer, and your armor penetration is increased for each pierce buff that you have on you. But here I wanted to say, so basically level 2 has about 3 hits, and here we can see that by the looks of it is rank 4, I think, but it doesn't have any masteries or stuff like that. It's always hard to judge the numbers in these deep dives. But after the special 2, what I noticed, in order to finish off that Deadpool, he dropped a medium hit for 17k crit. So a champion that can crit 17k on regular basic hits, I do think likely is going to have quite a lot of damage overall. So that is obviously with his kind of like standard rotation, which involved you throwing one level 1, one level 2. But it does look like he's going to have plenty of damage if you kind of run him correctly, get some aptitudes, and get that unblockable for level 2 to get that extra fury, have those extra buffs, additional attack increase. So it does look like there's going to be quite a bit of damage. And now, synergies. So he has synergy with Wiccan, which gives him stun immunity. Well, he has at least 3 pierce buffs, which is kind of nice. I don't think it's like an absolute game changer. Hulkling with Captain Marvel, max shapeshift charges increased to 12. Sure, whatever, I don't think it's super vital. Captain Marvel would start a fight with less than 10 energy charges. She starts with 10 instead. That's quite nice for her, I'm not gonna lie. It is quite helpful. And now with Squirrel Girl, 50% chance when striking the opponent while unblockable to inflict non-stacking armor break for 10 seconds, reducing armor rating by 500. Since it's non-stacking, I don't think it makes the biggest difference, but obviously it can help Hulkling be an answer to champions like Killmonger, I suppose, or some other occasions when you need that armor break. And Squirrel Girl has 25% chance to purify non-damaging debuffs whenever she inflicts bleed debuffs, which is quite often, to be honest. This one could be quite useful because she inflicts a lot of bleed debuffs. So it could make a Squirrel Girl quite decent purify, and obviously skill class has quite a lot of those already, though. Synergies Super Scroll, when striking tech opponent, 15% chance per armor buff. They have to gain non-stacking pierce buff for 700 potency, so you get additional pierce buff. I think it can be quite useful too. And then Super Scroll can pause his energy vulnerability whilst attacking the opponent. I don't think it's that big of a deal. And Toad one, it's quite interesting. The number of pierce buffs needed to trigger peak transformation unblockable buff is reduced by 1, so you only need 4 pierces. But also Toad can refresh his slow, which is kind of neat. I don't think it's game changer. Below we can see that he's going to have some additional synergies like Romance with Wiccan, for instance, but that is about it. So to return to kind of like main conclusions, I do think that he is fairly interesting cosmic character with niche but needed utility. He's clearly going to be one of the best counters to Peni Parker without a doubt. It does look like he's going to be spamming buffs left, right, and center, so he's going to be, you know, good for some alliance quest lanes, for instance, where you need these buffs active at all times and very early on. It does look like he could be potential answer for several kind of, again, less than straightforward fights, because he can do a ton of damage through block, then he can go unblockable, thus completely ignoring opponents' auto-block abilities as well. And yeah, I definitely do think that there will be value in him. Also, seeing that 17k medium crit, even if he isn't like at the top of the class in damage department, kind of gives me enough faith that he isn't going to be, let's say, Super Skrull or something like that. The key question is how convenient it is going to be to use this guy. Obviously, with AI being as dodgy as it has been lately and still having input issues, that might be the deal breaker for the champion, because he does kind of rely on you being able to drop a heavy attack to manipulate AI. He does kind of rely on you being able to consistently strike opponent's block, which obviously is meant to be helped by the heavy attack, but it kind of creates a chain of sequence of events that must happen in order for you to utilize this guy perfectly and fully. And my, biggest biggest fear about the champion is, in this case, that his chain is kind of too finicky. You need to hit the opponent, then you need to wait to recharge your charges, because you can't be striking your opponent and gain your shapeshift charges. Then you need to be able to hit their block. Then you need to be able to do this and that and that. So there are definite things that are worth being aware of before you get completely over the moon with the champion. At least that's what I'm trying to tell to myself. But from what I have seen, I definitely have quite a bit of interest in this character and the way he is. Now, another big point is, do not forget that he is a subject of champion rebalancing. And even though rebalancing program has not reared its ugly head in the game yet, do not forget it's coming. They are going to be starting in month of September, I believe, with like Scorpion and Black Cat. I think those were the first champions. So we're going to see how all of that stuff works out, which is always just something to keep in mind if things are too good to be true. And in this case, who knows, maybe they could be, but he definitely does have a place in the game from what I saw so far in the deep dive. Let me know what you guys think about Hulkling, and I will catch you guys soon. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information